Another team that we really wanted to talk about early on in this season was a subject of much consternation this offseason and has looked pretty good, I will say, so far coming into the season. That's your favorite team, the Minnesota Timberwolves. What do you think so far about the acquisition of Rudy Gobert and how he's fit in with this roster?
Yeah, I mean, Rudy Gobert is just about the only thing that's going well for us right now. I disagree that it's looked pretty good. I mean, sure, we're 2-1 and we're not awful on either end of the ball, but it's been pretty messy and no one's really playing like themselves so far. But I mean, the really fun thing to watch is that Minnesota is just so committed to getting Rudy Gobert in
Yeah,
scoring positions, and he's looking so happy about that. Like, this is all he's ever wanted. People are throwing him the ball constantly. It just makes him look incredibly active. He's been great on both ends, like just like super active defensively, like not like, blocking shots, contesting shots. Just like, I swear, like the announcers, our excellent announcing team in Minnesota has been, they're always calling out every little thing Rudy Gobert does that doesn't show up in the stat sheet. It's like some sort of personal mission of theirs to make us aware of what Rudy Gobert is doing at all time, but for good reason. It's like he's fitting in really great so far, and you can see it feels right now like we're building our offense around him. Like, I swear, D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards, and Karl Anthony Towns especially start possessions just being like, how do I get the ball to Rudy Gobert? It's like we care more about that than we care about winning the game, is getting the ball
yeah.
into Gobert and scoring positions. And I think that's like a fine way to start the season. Like, Karl Anthony Towns still needs to get into shape, and Anthony Edwards has been kind of like up and down as always. That's very much who he is. I know that casual fans get really excited about Anthony Edwards, but he's a very inconsistent player. When he's playing at his best, he looks like Michael Jordan, and there's other games where he completely disappears and also makes some pretty bad decisions. So, but
Mhm.
yeah, there's a ton to like about the Timberwolves in the early start. And one thing that I don't think I hear people talking about as much is that Jaden McDaniels, despite the fact that
That's
he
who
hasn't
I,
hit it. Say
that's who
again.
I was about to bring up. Yeah, Jaden
Oh, nice.
McDaniels has looked really good.
Yeah. He hasn't hit a 3-pointer yet,
Nope.
but which everyone was talking about, like his shooting and how that was a X factor for the Timberwolves. But what I see so far is like, oh, he learned how to dribble in the off season, and he's very
Mhm.
like, and it's making a big difference because we've got an additional playmaker on the floor, and I don't think too many people were necessarily expecting for him to develop in that way. Hopefully, the 3-point shooting does perk up though.
Yeah, he hasn't hit a three yet, and yet despite that, he's averaging 14 points a game on efficient shooting. He's been a positive offensive player with not only a bad, like not a bad 3-point shot or an inconsistent 3-point shot like he had at the start of last year, but no 3-point shot, which we don't expect to continue. So I think that, along with Rudy Gobert just deciding that he's going to acquire every single available rebound, have been positive bright spots for the Timberwolves early on this year. And Anthony
Yeah,
Edwards, like he was really rough game one, right? It was bad, but he's
yeah.
bounced back, and he's looked a lot better in the following two games. So I think we
E-
have with three guys on the Timberwolves who are doing well.
Even in his poor game one, he threw a couple of passes that I've never seen him try before. Like, he connected on a couple of plays that kind of just demonstrated like, oh, you've got a little bit more in your bag this year. So, I mean,
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to watch him grow in the season. I mean, he's playing better than Towns. Towns is like, besides his heroic efforts of getting Rudy Gobert the ball, has been offensively, he's kind of just, he almost reminds me of old man Dirk right now. Like, he's
yeah,
still making an impact by being on the floor with the gravity of his shooting, and people do really overreact to the threat of Towns all the time. Like, if Towns drives or posts up or stands at the 3-point line, you see the defense react to that. He draws doubles in the post automatically. And we won a we won a game against the Thunder the other day without Shea Gilgis Alexander. Wow, big victory for us. But every time Towns touched the ball, the Thunder would double him no matter where he was on the floor. So he's making these very easy passes out of that, but he was making calm reads in the past. Towns like very much wishes he was Nikola Jokic. Like he throws passes and wants people to talk about what a great passer he is, but um, often that means that he's like just throwing these insane passes for turnovers all the time. Where this year it seems he's a little bit more focused and just on making the right read, and he's done a great job with that so far. And I think that's the best version of Towns, is someone who just understands the level of threat and pressure he puts on the defense and then just makes the correct play, rather than someone who kind of like lets the pressure of being the man affect him, where he tries to make these big heroic, like dominant offensive moves all the time. When he's playing like that, you can tell he's sort of like listening to the criticism, and when he's playing well, he's just out there kind of like letting the game come to him.
Yeah. I think another guy who's been a pleasant surprise, well, perhaps not to you as a long-term Timberwolves fan. I'm sure you've seen this guy play a decent amount already, but Jalen Noel has kind of stepped in to fill the void that Malik Beasley left when he was traded as kind of that first guard off the bench, and I think he's done admirably so far in that role.
Yeah, I think anyone who watched the Timberwolves last year like knew that was happening. Like people, if anyone, no one was sad to see Beasley go. Beasley had some great moments for the Timberwolves, but mostly last year really struggled as a shooting specialist. Where Jalen Noel already last year was flashing a lot of promise. He's got a lot of juice off the bounce, and had a solid year shooting the ball last year too. So in terms of the job of being like an offensive guard off the bench, he's totally up to the task. So I think he's in the perfect role right now. He should have a good year in that role. And a lot of like Timberwolves fans on on the more casual side, where you don't care about defense that much, assume that he would be starting.
Yeah.
Like it was like a lot of fans had to have it explained to them why Jaden McDaniels, who often bonks a lot of threes and can be offensively tentative, would be starting over Jalen Noel, who's has cool dribble moves and like can pull
Yeah.
up off the dribble and stuff. So, but yeah, so Timberwolves fans definitely are wise to the Jalen Noel experience, and it's nice to see again, especially because he's a younger player, kind of increase the upside of the rotation and give us some scoring off the bench.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is necessarily a good or a bad thing. It's just a thing. I do think that Jalen Noel is going to step more and more into that kind of like instant offense guard off the bench, who doesn't necessarily, play a ton of defense, might not make a ton of plays for other players, but is good at creating his own shot. And as a Pacific Northwest sports fan, I watched Jalen Noel a decent amount when he was at the
Oh yeah,
University of Washington, and that's the player he was there. So I'm not overly surprised to see him kind of thriving in that role in the NBA as well.
yeah. You never know which scoring guards in college are going to pop in the NBA. It's like just kind of a roll the dice sort of situation. But I'm glad one of them that might pop this year plays on a team that I liked.